Easter Sunday. My wife vanished with our life savings and my best friend. Left me with 3 boys and 75 days before we'd lose our home. 17 years of hell later, she returned pregnant and broken. My name is Daniel Harrison. I'm 43 years old, and I've spent the last 17 years learning that survival isn't the same as living. I've learned that betrayal doesn't just come from strangers. It comes from the people you trust with your life. I've learned that the hardest battles aren't fought with fists, but with lawyers, bank accounts, and the weight of knowing your best friend stabbed you in the back while smiling to your face. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Back when this story begins, I was 26 years old, married to my high school sweetheart Candace, and father to 2 boys with a third on the way. Samuel had just turned 2, a ball of energy who could barely string 3 words together, but had already figured out how to climb onto the kitchen counter. Asher was 3 months old, still in that potato stage where he'd sleep anywhere, anytime. And Owen was 6 months away from making his entrance into this world, growing inside Candace's belly while I worked 60-hour weeks to make sure we'd be ready. I was a quality control inspector at Riverside Manufacturing Plant in Columbus, Ohio. $78,000 a year to check metal parts, fill out compliance reports, and make sure production lines didn't ship defective equipment to companies that actually mattered. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't my dream. But it was steady, it was honest, and I thought it was enough to build a life on. Candace stayed home with the boys. That was the plan we'd made together back when we were 18, sitting on the hood of my old Chevy in the high school parking lot, talking about our future like we had the whole world figured out. She'd raise our kids right. I'd provide. Together, we built something solid. Something that would last. For a while, it actually worked. Samuel's first steps in our cramped living room. Asher's tiny yawn in the middle of the night when I'd take the feeding shift so Candace could sleep. The way she'd rest her head on my shoulder during movie nights after the boys were down. Her hand finding mine in the darkness. Our little house on Maple Street with the crooked fence I kept meaning to fix. The leaky bathroom faucet I get to next weekend. The American flag I hung every 4th of July. It wasn't perfect. Money was always tight. The house was too small. I was always tired. But it was ours. Then somewhere along the way, ours became mine and hers. Separate. Distant. 2 people living parallel lives under the same roof. I should have seen it coming. The way she'd pull away when I reached for her at night, claiming exhaustion, even though the baby slept through most nights now. The new workout clothes she bought even though her credit card was maxed. The hours she spent texting on her phone, smiling at the screen in ways she hadn't smiled at me in months. The perfume she started wearing. Expensive stuff I definitely hadn't bought her. But I didn't want to see it. Because seeing it meant admitting that the life I'd built, the promises we'd made, the future I'd counted on, all of it could shatter in an instant. And shatter it did. That Easter Sunday, 17 years ago, started like any other holiday. I woke up early to hide plastic eggs in the backyard while the morning dew still clung to the grass. Samuel, at 2 years old, toddled around in his little overalls, more interested in eating the candy than actually finding the eggs. Asher slept peacefully in his carrier on the back porch, 3 months old and oblivious to everything happening around him. Candace stood in the kitchen doorway in her bathrobe, one hand resting on her swollen belly where Owen was growing, coffee cup in the other, watching Samuel play. I remember thinking she looked beautiful standing there, backlit by the morning sun. I remember thinking I should tell her that. I didn't. By noon, she was gone. By evening, so was every dollar we'd saved. By the next morning, I discovered that the man who helped her disappear was someone I trusted like a brother. This is the story of what came after. The fights, the falls, and the climb back up. The moments that broke me and the people who helped put the pieces back together. Even when those pieces didn't fit the same way anymore. This is the story of how I lost everything and what I built from the ashes. That Easter Sunday, my wife left me and our 3 young sons to follow her lover. The morning started normal enough, but by noon, everything I'd built had turned to ash. I should have known something was wrong when Candace didn't come outside to watch Samuel hunt for eggs. She loved that stuff, taking pictures, laughing at his excited squeals, posting the moments to Facebook like proof of our perfect life. But that morning, she stayed inside, said she wasn't feeling well, blamed it on the pregnancy. Just need to lie down for a bit, she called from the bedroom window. Her voice sounded strange, flat, but I was too focused on Samuel to notice. By 11, the Easter egg hunt was done, and I'd gotten both boys down for a nap. Asher in his crib, Samuel on the couch with his favorite blanket. I walked in the bedroom to check on Candace. She was gone. The closet stood open, half her clothes missing. Her makeup bag, toothbrush, the jewelry box her grandmother had given her, all gone. On the dresser sat a single piece of notebook paper, folded once. My hand shook as I opened it. Daniel, I can't do this anymore. I need more than this life can give me. Don't try to find me. I'll be in touch about the boys. See, that was it. 15 years together, 2 kids with a third on the way, and she summed it up in 3 sentences. No explanation, no apology. Just, I can't do this anymore. I stood there holding that note for I don't know how long. Samuel's cartoons played in the living room. Asher started fussing in his crib, and I couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't process what I was reading. Then I remembered. We had a joint bank account. I pulled up the app on my phone with fingers that wouldn't stop trembling. Our savings account showed a balance of $127.43. It should have had $127,000. The college fund we'd been building since Samuel was born, contributions from both sets of grandparents, every tax refund, every bonus I'd ever gotten. Gone. My retirement account, the one through work that I'd been contributing to for 8 years. Balance, $0. She cashed it out, penalties and all. That was another $89,000. The mortgage escrow account, where we kept money for property taxes and insurance, cleaned out, $34,000. Out of the math in my head, feeling sick. She'd taken over $250,000 and left me with 2 toddlers, a pregnant belly's worth of hospital bills coming, and $127 to my name. My phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway, some desperate part of me hoping it was her calling to say this was all a mistake. Mr. Harrison, a woman's voice, professional and cold. This is First National Bank. I'm calling about your mortgage payment. According to our records, you're now 60 days past due. If we don't receive payment within 30 days, we'll be forced to begin foreclosure proceedings. What? I managed. No, there's money in the escrow account. It's automatic. Sir, your escrow account was closed on March 15th. The funds are withdrawn by your wife, Candace Harrison, who is listed as a co-owner. We sent notification to your address. March 15th, 3 weeks ago. She'd been planning this for at least 3 weeks, smiling at me across the dinner table, kissing me goodnight, while she systematically drained every account we had. How long do I have? My voice sounded like it belonged to someone else. 90 days from the missed payment date. That gives you approximately 75 days to bring the account current or face eviction. I hung up without saying goodbye, walked to the bathroom, stared at myself in the mirror. A 26-year-old man who suddenly looked 50. Samuel started crying in the living room. Asher's fussing had turned into full-blown wails. My sons needed me. My pregnant wife, ex-wife, I guess, though we weren't even divorced yet, had abandoned them. Abandoned us. And in 75 days, we'd be living on the street unless I figured something out. I splashed water on my face, took a breath, and went to take care of my boys. That night, after I'd fed them, bathed them, and gotten them to sleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a calculator and our bills spread out in front of me. Mortgage, $1,850 a month. Utilities, $340. Car payment, $425. Insurance, groceries, diapers, formula for Asher. My paycheck covered maybe 2/3 of it. Even if I cut everything to the bone, I was coming up at least $1,200 short every month. I needed more income. Fast. By midnight, I'd applied for 3 second jobs online. Security guard, delivery driver, warehouse work, anything that would let me work nights after the boys were asleep, anything that would keep a roof over their heads. I didn't sleep that night, just sat there in the dark, holding that note, wondering how the woman I'd loved since I was 16 could do this to her own children, wondering if I'd ever see her again, wondering if I even wanted to. The alarm went off at 5:45 a.m., same as it had for the past 3 months since Candace left. I rolled out of bed feeling like I'd been hit by a truck, which made sense considering I'd only slept 3.5 hours. My life had become a mathematical equation with no good solution. 75 days to save the house had turned into reality fast. I'd found the second and third jobs within a week of that Easter Sunday. Quality control inspector at Riverside from 7 to 4. Security guard at the Westfield office complex from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., 4 nights a week. And on weekends, I delivered pizzas for Marco's from 6 p.m. to midnight. The math still barely worked. Between all three jobs, I was pulling in about $4,800 a month before taxes. After taxes, closer to $3,600. The mortgage alone was $1,850. Everything else, utilities, formula for Asher, diapers, car payment, insurance, ate up the rest. Some weeks I had $20 left over. Most weeks I didn't. Samuel, now 2.5, had stopped asking where Mommy went. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. Asher was 6 months old and had never known anything different. And Candace had given birth to Owen 3 months ago at some hospital in God knows where. I'd found out through a text message. Had the baby. Boy. Named him Owen like we planned. Don't contact me. She hadn't even told me which hospital. Hadn't let me be there. Just had my son and disappeared again. I dragged myself to the kitchen and started the coffee maker. Mrs. Chun from next door would be here at 6:30 to watch the boys while I went to Riverside. She charged me $400 a week, which was half what a real daycare would cost, and she actually cared about Samuel and Asher. Small mercies. Daddy. Samuel appeared in the doorway, dragging his blanket. I'm hungry. I know, buddy. Let me get Asher changed first. Okay? Can you be a big boy and wait 5 minutes? He nodded and climbed onto the couch, turning on cartoons. I went to check on Asher, who was awake and smiling in his crib despite the sagged diaper. At least one of us was happy. By the time Mrs. Chun arrived, I'd fed both boys, gotten them dressed, and was running 15 minutes late for Riverside. I kissed Samuel's head, handed Mrs. Chun the emergency number she already had memorized, and ran out the door. Work was a blur. I spent 8 hours checking metal components, signing off on quality reports, and trying not to fall asleep standing up. My supervisor had noticed. Pulled me aside during lunch break. Harrison, you doing okay? You look like hell. I'm fine, I lied. Just adjusting to single dad life. He studied me for a long moment. If you need to take some time, I can't afford time. I'm good. I promise. That afternoon, I picked up the boys from Mrs. Chin's, made them dinner, mac and cheese again, because it was cheap and Samuel would actually eat it, and got them bathed and in bed by 7. Then I had 4 hours to sleep before the overnight security shift started. I never made it 4 hours. Usually got 2, maybe 3 if I was lucky. Then I drag myself out of bed, drive to the office complex, and spend 8 hours walking the floors, checking doors, watching cameras, fighting to keep my eyes open. The weekend pizza delivery job was almost worse. At least security let me sit down sometimes. Delivering pizzas meant constant movement, fake smiles for tips, and the smell of food I couldn't afford to buy my own kids. But I didn't quit, didn't slow down, didn't complain, because 3 months in, I made the first full mortgage payment since Candace left. The bank sent a letter confirming receipt. 63 more payments, and the house would be paid off. 63 more months of this hell. I could do it. I had to. For Samuel. For Asher. For Owen. Wherever he was. One night during my security shift, I pulled out my phone and did something I've been avoiding. I searched for Candace on social media. Found her profile still public. Updated regularly. There she was. Smiling on a beach somewhere. Holding Owen, who looked healthy and happy. And next to her, with his arm around her waist, was James Patterson, my best friend since high school. The guy who'd been best man at my wedding. The guy I'd trusted with everything. The caption read, "Finally found where I belong. Hashtag new beginnings, hashtag blessed life." I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I saved it, printed it out the next day, pinned it to the wall in my garage where I kept my workout equipment. Every morning before work, I'd look at that picture, let the anger fuel me through another set of push-ups, another set of pull-ups. Let it remind me why I couldn't quit, why I couldn't break. They thought they destroyed me. They thought taking everything would make me fold. They were wrong. I was going to survive this. And someday, somehow, they'd answer for what they'd done. 6 months after Candace left, I did something that probably seemed crazy. I took $3,500 from my emergency fund, money I'd scraped together from overtime and tips, and hired a private investigator. His name was Philip Reeves, a retired cop who ran a small agency out of a strip mall office. I found him through a guy at the manufacturing plant whose ex-wife had tried to hide assets during their divorce. What do you want to know? Reeves asked during our first meeting, his voice gravelly from too many cigarettes. Everything, I said. Where she is. What she's doing. How she's spending the money she stole. And I want to know about James Patterson, my former best friend, the guy she left me for. Reeves raised an eyebrow. You want dirt for a custody case? I want the truth. She took $250,000 and abandoned 2 kids. Now she's got my 3rd son somewhere, and I don't even know where. I need ammunition. He leaned back in his chair. That kind of investigation runs about $1,500 a week. You sure you can afford it? I couldn't, but I handed him $3,500 anyway. That buys me 2 weeks, right? See what you can find. 3 weeks later, Reeves called me at 2 in the morning during my security shift. You sitting down? I'm at work. What did you find? Your wife and Patterson are in Austin, Texas, renting a house in Westlake. Nice neighborhood. And here's where it gets interesting. Patterson's not just some guy having an affair. He's a corporate attorney, but he's also been under investigation by the FBI for the past 18 months. My heart stopped. Investigation for what? Money laundering. He's been using shell companies to clean money for a client involved in healthcare fraud. Your wife's name is on 3 of those shell companies, listed as a business consultant. I sat up straight. What does that mean? It means she probably didn't know what she was doing, Reeves continued. Patterson likely convinced her she was helping him start legitimate businesses, set up accounts in her name, had her sign documents. She thought she was building a career. He was using her as a patsy. Jesus Christ. Gets better. The FBI is about to move. Word is they're filing charges within the next 60 days. When that happens, everyone connected to those shell companies gets pulled in, including your wife. I processed this information slowly. What happens to her? If she cooperates and proves she didn't know, probably nothing. If she doesn't cooperate, or if they think she was in on it, federal prison, 5 to 10 years minimum. Part of me wanted to feel satisfied. She destroyed our family, stolen everything, and now karma was coming for her. But another part, the part that remembered loving her, the part that knew she was still Owen's mother, felt sick. What about Owen? I asked. My son. That's complicated. If she goes to prison, the kid goes into the system unless you file for custody. But you need to prove paternity first. And since you weren't present at the birth, that's going to be messy. Can you find out which hospital? Give me birth certificate information. Already did. Reeves slid a folder across his desk. Austin Regional Medical Center. Born June 4th. Certificate lists James Patterson as father. The world tilted. What? She put his name on the birth certificate. Doesn't mean he's actually the biological father. Just means that's what she claimed. You'd need a DNA test to prove otherwise, and you'd need access to the kid for that. I stood up, pacing his small office. So Patterson thinks Owen is his son? Probably. Or he knows the truth and doesn't care. Either way, legally speaking, he's the father right now. You're just the ex-husband she abandoned. I want to put my fist through the wall. Instead, I force myself to breathe. To think. What do I do? Reeves lit a cigarette despite the no-smoking sign on his own wall. You wait. When the FBI moves, Patterson's going down. Your wife will have to decide whether to cooperate or go down with him. Either way, she's going to be desperate. That's when you make your move. What kind of move? You offer her a deal. She gives you full custody of all 3 boys, returns what's left of the money, and you don't testify against her when the FBI comes calling. Because trust me, they're going to want to talk to you too. You were married to her. Your name might be on documents you don't even know about. Fear shot through me. I didn't do anything wrong. I know, but you're going to need to prove that. And having a cooperative ex-wife who'll verify you had no knowledge of Patterson's business dealings, that's valuable. I sat back down, feeling the weight of everything crushing me. This is insane. Welcome to divorce court, kid. It only gets worse from here. I left his office with the folder, my mind racing. Candace was in over her head with a criminal. My son was being raised by a man who'd betrayed me and might be going to federal prison. And I was working 3 jobs just to keep a roof over my other 2 sons' heads. But now I had information. I had leverage. And when the time came, I'd use it. The call came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was inspecting valve assemblies at Riverside. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Austin area code. I almost ignored it, but something made me step outside to answer. Is this Daniel Harrison? A woman's voice, professional but urgent. Yes, who's this? This is Dr. Patel from Austin Regional Medical Center. I'm calling about your son, Asher Harrison. My blood ran cold. Asher's not in Austin. He's at daycare in Columbus. I'm sorry. I'm in Owen Harrison. He was brought to our emergency room an hour ago. He's stable now, but he's severely dehydrated and underweight. We need parental consent for treatment. I gripped the phone harder. Owen's only 8 months old. What happened? His mother brought him in. She's not in good condition herself. Mr. Harrison, does your son have any medical conditions we should know about? I don't know. I haven't seen him since before he was born. The admission burned. His mother took him when she left. I'm not listed as the father on his birth certificate. Silence. Then, Mr. Harrison, this child needs proper care. His mother is claiming you abandoned them, but the social worker here is asking questions. Can you come to Austin? I'm in Ohio. It's a 20-hour drive. Then I suggest you start driving. Because if someone doesn't claim this baby and prove they can care for him, Child Protective Services is getting involved. I hung up and immediately called my supervisor. Told him I had a family emergency. Didn't wait for approval. Just left. Called Mrs. Chun on the way home. I need you to take Samuel and Asher for a few days. I'll pay you extra. It's an emergency. Threw clothes in a bag. Grabbed my folder from the detective with all the information on Candace and James. By 4 p.m., I was on I-70 heading west, driving straight through the night. I called the hospital every few hours for updates. Owen was stable. Candace had disappeared after dropping him off, just left him there and vanished. The social worker was trying to track her down. 23 hours later, I walked into Austin Regional Medical Center looking like hell and feeling worse. Found the pediatric ward. Asked for Dr. Patel. She was a small Indian woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense manner. Mr. Harrison, come with me. She led me to a room where a baby lay in a crib, hooked up to an 4. My son, 8 months old, and I was seeing him for the first time. He was tiny, too tiny, ribs showing through his onesie, dark circles under his eyes. What happened to him? My voice broke. Neglect, Dr. Patel said quietly. He's been underfed for weeks, possibly months. Hasn't had proper medical care. He should weigh about 20 pounds at this age. He weighs 14. I reached into the crib and touched his hand. His fingers wrapped around mine reflexively, and something inside my chest shattered. I'm his father, I said. I can prove it with a DNA test. And I'm taking him home. Dr. Patel nodded. The social worker will want to speak with you. But Mr. Harrison, that baby needs his father. Whatever it takes, fight for him. I looked down at Owen, this tiny human I'd never met but would die to protect. I will, I promised. Whatever it takes. The DNA test took 3 days to process. 3 days of staying in a cheap motel near the hospital, visiting Owen every chance I got, and meeting with lawyers and social workers who wanted to know why I'd let my son live in neglect for 8 months. I didn't know where he was. I told them over and over. His mother left me, put another man's name on the birth certificate, and disappeared. The social worker, a tired woman named Angela Rodriguez, reviewed my detective's report. Looked at the financial records showing Candace had stolen everything. Read the notes about James Patterson. Mr. Harrison, I believe you, she finally said. But the court's going to want proof you can care for this child. You're working 3 jobs. You have 2 other children. How are you going to manage an infant with special needs? Special needs. Owen's developmental delays for malnutrition. He'll need physical therapy, possibly occupational therapy, regular doctor visits. Can you handle that? I thought about my 3 jobs. The crushing schedule. The house that was always one missed payment from foreclosure. Then I looked at Owen through the hospital room window, so small and helpless. I'll figure it out, I said. He's my son. The DNA results came back on Friday. 99.97% probability of paternity. Owen was mine. Legally, biologically, undeniably mine. The hospital social services filed an emergency petition for custody on my behalf. The court scheduled a hearing for Monday morning. James Patterson showed up to that hearing with a lawyer. I hadn't seen him in 9 months, not since before Candace left. He looked good, expensive suit, confident smile, like he hadn't helped destroy my entire life. His lawyer argued that James was the legal father, that he'd been caring for Owen, that I was an absent parent trying to swoop in now. My lawyer, a court-appointed attorney named David Green who was doing this pro bono, presented the DNA test. The hospital records. The detective's report showing the shell companies and FBI investigation. Your Honor, Green said, Mr. Patterson is under federal investigation for money laundering. He used Ms. Harrison to create illegal business entities. The child in question was living in a home where criminal activity was occurring. Mr. Daniel Harrison is the biological father, works 3 jobs to support his other children, and has been actively searching for this child since birth. The judge, an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, looked at James. Mr. Patterson, are you currently under FBI investigation? James's lawyer started to object, but James cut him off. Your Honor, I'm not at liberty to discuss ongoing federal matters. I'll take that as a yes. She turned to me. Mr. Harrison, can you provide adequate care for this infant? I stood up. Your Honor, I'll do whatever it takes. Owen is my son. I've already lost 8 months of his life. I'm not losing another day. She studied me for a long moment. Then she signed the order. Temporary custody to Daniel Harrison, pending full hearing in 90 days. Mr. Patterson, your order to stay away from the child. This court is adjourned. I walked out of that courtroom with legal custody of my son. James stood in the hallway, his lawyer whispering urgently in his ear. Our eyes met. You'll regret this, he said quietly. No, I replied. You'll regret what you did to my family. And when the FBI comes for you, I'll be there to watch you fall. I picked up Owen from the hospital that afternoon, buckled him into a car seat I'd bought at Walmart, started the long drive back to Columbus with my 3rd son finally where he belonged. In the rearview mirror, I could see him sleeping. So small, so fragile, so mine. Whatever it took, I'd protect him, all 3 of them. And someday, Candace and James would answer for what they'd done. 7 months after that Easter Sunday, when Candace walked out, she showed up on my doorstep, pregnant. Again, I was getting the boys ready for bed. Samuel was helping Owen with bath time, while Asher played with blocks on the bathroom floor. All 3 of them, finally together under one roof. Finally starting to feel like a real family again, even if it was broken and stitched together with duct tape and determination. The doorbell rang at 8 p.m. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw her. Thinner than I remembered, dark circles under her eyes, her belly swollen under a coat that had seen better days. Every instinct told me to leave the door locked, to pretend I wasn't home, to protect my sons from the woman who'd abandoned them. But I opened it anyway. Daniel, she said, her voice small. Can we talk? About what? I didn't move from the doorway. I need help. I'm pregnant. James kicked me out 3 days ago. I've been staying at a women's shelter, but they can only keep me for 2 weeks. I have nowhere to go. I stared at her, feeling nothing. No anger. No sympathy. Just exhaustion. That's not my problem, Candace. I know. I know I have no right to ask. But I'm carrying a baby, Daniel. I can't raise a child on the street. Is it James's baby? She nodded, tears starting to fall. He doesn't want it. Said I trapped him. He kicked me out the day I told him. Part of me, a small, bitter part, wanted to laugh. James Patterson, the man who'd helped her destroy our family, had thrown her away the second she became inconvenient. Karma was real after all. What do you want from me? I asked. Just a place to stay. Until the baby comes. I'll sleep in the garage. I won't bother the boys. I need help. Behind me, I heard Samuel call out. Daddy? Who's at the door? Candace's face changed. Pain. Longing. Regret. Is that Samuel? Can I see him? Please. No. The word came out harder than I intended. You lost that right when you abandoned him. When you stole from us. When you disappeared for 7 months without a word. Daniel, please. Here's the deal. I interrupted. You can stay in the guest room until the baby is born. Not the garage. I'm not that cruel. But you don't talk to the boys unless I say so. You don't ask for money. And the day that baby is born, you leave. Permanently. Do you understand? She looked shocked. You let me stay? I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because that baby didn't ask to be born into this mess. But make no mistake, Candace, this isn't forgiveness. This isn't reconciliation. This is temporary shelter with conditions. Thank you, she whispered. Don't thank me yet. Tomorrow morning, you're signing paperwork giving me full custody of all 3 boys. You're returning whatever money you have left. And you're going to write a statement for my lawyer explaining that you took the money without my knowledge. I don't have any money left. James spent it all. Of course he did. Then you'll work with my lawyer on the custody papers. And Candace, if you try anything, if you upset the boys, if you contact James, if you cause any problems, you're out immediately. Clear. Crystal clear. I stepped aside, let her in, showed her to the guest room that was really just a storage space with a futon. That night, I lay awake wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. But then I thought about that baby, James's baby, but still an innocent life. Still someone who deserved a chance. I couldn't save Candace from her own choices, but maybe I could save one more child from suffering, even if it cost me everything I had left. Rebecca Torres had been my co-worker at Riverside Manufacturing for 8 years. We'd worked the same shift, eaten lunch in the break room together, complained about management and quotas and the endless monotony of quality control. She'd watched my life fall apart after Candace left, brought me coffee on the mornings I looked like death, covered for me when I was late because Owen had been up all night, never asked questions, never judged. 3 weeks after Candace moved into my guest room, Rebecca asked me to have lunch off-site. Not the break room, a real lunch at the diner down the street. What's going on? I asked as we slid into a booth. She looked nervous, which was unusual. Rebecca was confident, steady. 41 years old, divorced for 5 years, no kids. She ran marathons on weekends and volunteered at the animal shelter. She was the most put-together person I knew. I need to tell you something, she said. And I've been trying to find the right time, but there's never going to be a right time, so I'm just going to say it. My stomach dropped. Are you quitting? If this is about work, I'm in love with you, Daniel. The diner noise faded to nothing. I stared at her. I've been in love with you for years, she continued, her words coming faster now. Before Candace left, before everything fell apart, I watched you build that life with her, and I kept my mouth shut because you were happy. But then she destroyed you, and I watched you pick yourself up piece by piece. I watched you work yourself to death for those boys. I watched you fight for Owen, and now I'm watching you let her back into your house, and I can't stay silent anymore. Rebecca, I'm not asking you to love me back, she interrupted. I'm just asking you not to let her destroy you again. Don't mistake pity for love. Don't confuse doing the right thing with giving her another chance. Because she doesn't deserve you, Daniel. She never did. I sat back, processing. Rebecca. Sweet, dependable Rebecca who'd been there through everything. Who never complained. Who always showed up. I don't know what to say, I admitted. You don't have to say anything. But I need you to know, when Candace leaves, when that baby is born and she's gone, I'll still be here. I've proven it for 8 years. I've loved you through your worst, and I'd be honored to love you through your best. She stood up, leaving money on the table for her untouched coffee. Think about it. Think about who's earned your trust and who's broken it, who stayed and who left. After she walked out, I sat there for another 20 minutes, thinking about Candace in my guest room, pregnant with another man's baby. Thinking about Rebecca, who'd stood by me when I had nothing. The choice should have been obvious. But life was never that simple. That night, Candace asked if she could see the boys. Just for a few minutes. Just to say goodnight. I almost said no. But Samuel had been asking about her. Asking why Mommy was in the house, but wouldn't talk to him. 5 minutes, I said. I'll be right there the whole time. She read them a story. Samuel curled up next to her. Asher watched from my lap, confused. Owen slept through it. And I realized something watching her. I felt nothing. No love. No anger. Just nothing. Rebecca was right. I'd been mistaking duty for something more. The question was what I was going to do about it. 2 things happened in the same week that changed everything. First, Candace's lawyer served me with papers. She was suing for child support. $4,600 a month for all 3 boys, plus back payments for the 7 months she'd been gone. The total came to $939,600 when calculated over the next 18 years, plus the retroactive amount. I stared at those papers in disbelief. The woman who'd stolen $250,000, abandoned our children, and was currently living in my guest room pregnant with another man's baby was demanding I pay her nearly $1 million. My lawyer, David Green, was equally stunned. She's got some nerve. We'll fight this, Daniel. No judge in their right mind will award her anything given the circumstances. She's trying to bleed me dry, I said. This is revenge because I made her sign the custody papers. The second thing happened 3 days later. I got a call from the Austin Police Department. Mr. Harrison, this is Detective Maria Santos. I'm calling about James Patterson. My blood went cold. What about him? He was involved in a motorcycle accident last night. He was intoxicated, lost control on Highway 183. He didn't survive. I'm sorry for your loss. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No grief. Just empty. Why are you calling me? Because you're listed as next of kin for a minor child. Owen Harrison. Mr. Patterson had temporary visitation rights before his death, and we need to notify all relevant parties. Owen's with me. I have full custody. I understand. But there's something else. Mr. Patterson's attorney contacted us. Apparently, he'd recently taken a DNA test. The results came back yesterday. Owen isn't his biological son. I closed my eyes. James had figured it out. Finally realized that Candace had lied to him, used him, just like she'd used me. The attorney also mentioned that Mr. Patterson left no will. His assets are being frozen by the FBI as part of their ongoing investigation. There's nothing for anyone to inherit. It's all proceeds from criminal activity. After I hung up, I sat in my truck in the Riverside parking lot, processing everything. James was dead. Candace's lawsuit was pending. And I was still working 3 jobs just to keep my head above water. That night, I told Candace about James's death. She was 8 months pregnant, huge and uncomfortable, sitting in my living room because the guest room was too cramped. She didn't cry, just stared at the wall. He took the DNA test. Apparently, found out Owen wasn't his. Good, she said bitterly. He deserved to know he'd been lied to. Just like you deserve to know. You need to drop the lawsuit, Candace. I can't. I need money. I have nothing left. You have nothing left because you stole everything and gave it to a criminal who spent it all. That's not my problem. You signed away your rights to the boys. You don't get to demand money for children you abandoned. The lawyer says I have a case. The lawyer is taking advantage of you. I interrupted. You're going to lose, Candace. And when you do, the judge is going to order you to pay my legal fees. You'll be even more broke than you already are. She was silent for a long moment. Then, what if I drop the lawsuit in exchange for something? What could you possibly have that I want? A statement. A full written statement admitting I took the money without your knowledge. Admitting I manipulated you. Admitting that James and I planned this together. Everything the FBI might want to know about his operation. I studied her carefully. Why would you do that? Because I'm tired, Daniel. I'm 8 months pregnant with a dead man's baby. I have no money, no home, no future. The least I can do is tell the truth. Drop the lawsuit first. Sign the paperwork tomorrow. Then we'll talk about statements. The next day, her lawyer called mine. The lawsuit was withdrawn. Candace signed a document stating she had no claim to child support, no parental rights, and no financial interest in my assets. In exchange, I helped her write a statement for the FBI. Everything about James's businesses, the shell companies, the money laundering. How he convinced her to sign documents. How he'd controlled the money. How she'd been a pawn in his scheme. It wouldn't bring back what I'd lost. But it was something. 2 weeks later, Candace went into labor. I drove her to the hospital, waited in the lobby while she gave birth. A boy, 7 pounds, healthy lungs. She named him Thomas, after her father. Do you want to see him? The nurse asked me. No, I said. He's not my son. Candace stayed in the hospital for 2 days. When she was discharged, I drove her to a women's transitional housing program that David Green had helped arrange. She'd have a place to stay for 6 months while she got on her feet. Thank you, she said as she got out of my truck, baby carrier in hand. For everything. I know I don't deserve it. You don't, I agreed. But that baby does. Good luck, Candace. I drove away and didn't look back. That night, Rebecca came over. Brought dinner for the boys. Helped me give them baths. Read them stories. After they were asleep, we sat on the couch together. It's over, I said. She's gone. Really gone this time. Rebecca took my hand. How do you feel? Free, I admitted. For the first time in months, I feel like I can breathe. She smiled. Good. Because you deserve to be happy, Daniel. You deserve someone who stays. I looked at her. This woman who'd stood by me through everything. Who'd never asked for anything. Who'd loved me when I had nothing to offer. I'd like to take you to dinner, I said. A real dinner. Just us. No kids, no drama. Would that be okay? I've been waiting 8 years for you to ask me that question, she said softly. Yes, it would be very okay. For the first time since that Easter Sunday, I felt hope. 12 years later, I stood in the backyard of our new house. A real house, not the cramped place on Maple Street, watching my family celebrate Thanksgiving. Samuel was 19 now, tall, and in his first year of college, home for Thanksgiving break. Asher was 16, chasing Owen around the yard, both of them laughing. Owen was 12, healthy and happy, with no memory of those first terrible months. Rebecca, my wife for 3 years now, was 8 months pregnant with our daughter. We'd named her Grace. A fresh start. A new chapter. The house had been possible because of the settlement. After James's death, the FBI had recovered some of the assets. Not all of it. Most had been spent or hidden, but enough. I'd gotten back $180,000. Enough for a down payment on this place. Enough to quit the overnight security job and just work at Riverside and do weekend consulting. My parents were here, grilling burgers and watching the boys with pride. Rebecca's sister and her family had driven in from Detroit. Mrs. Chun, who still watched the boys sometimes, sat in a lawn chair with a plate of pie. "Daddy." Owen ran up to me, his face covered in chocolate. "Can we do the turkey craft now?" I lifted him up. "After lunch, buddy. Go wash your face first." He sprinted toward the house, Asher right behind him. Samuel walked over, suddenly serious. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Always. Do you ever think about Mom?" "Like the first Mom." I chose my words carefully. "Sometimes, but not the way I used to. Mostly I think about how grateful I am that things turned out the way they did. Because of Rebecca, because of all of it, because I have you three, because I learned what really matters, because I found someone who earned my trust instead of someone who broke it." Samuel nodded slowly. "I'm glad she's gone. The first Mom. Is that bad?" "No, son. That's honest." I pulled him close. "You know what I learned? Family isn't always about blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who fights for you when things get hard. Like Rebecca." "Like Rebecca," I agreed. That evening, after everyone had eaten and the boys were playing in the yard, Rebecca and I sat on the porch swing. Her hand rested on her belly where Grace was kicking. "You built something beautiful here," she said softly. "After everything you went through." "We built it," I corrected. "I couldn't have done any of this without you." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Do you ever regret it? Taking Owen when Candace left him at the hospital? Fighting for custody? Never. He's my son, blood or not. And the baby she had with James? Thomas? Do you ever wonder about him?" I thought about that kid over the years. Wonder if he was okay. If Candace had managed to pull her life together. But I'd made my peace with it. "I hope he's healthy and loved," I said. "But he's not my responsibility. My responsibility is right here." Owen ran up to the porch, Samuel and Asher behind him. "Dad, can we show Grandma the tree fort?" "Go ahead. Just be careful." I watched them run off. These 3 boys who'd been through hell and come out stronger. Who'd learned resilience because they had no choice. Who knew what it meant to fight for family. Rebecca squeezed my hand. "You did good, Daniel." "We did good," I said. "And we're not done yet." Grace kicked again, as if agreeing. This was my family now. Built from broken pieces, held together by choice rather than obligation. It wasn't the life I'd planned that Easter Sunday, 17 years ago, when everything fell apart. It was better, because I'd learned the hard way that the strongest foundations aren't built on promises. They're built on proof. On showing up every single day. On choosing to stay when leaving would be easier. Candace had taught me what love isn't. Rebecca had taught me what it is. And that made all the difference in the world.